INDIANA, that's Indiana. Ballin' like Reggie Miller, that's Indiana. I put up on my state, that's Indiana. Watch me rep it in your face, that's Indiana. That's Indiana, that's Indiana.
Hi, it's Matt from Ludovox, and today we are at GenCon 1216 with John Sinclair. Hi, John.
Hi, how's it going?
Fine. What about you? Is the con good for you so far?
First time I've been to GenCon. So, first day, first time. A lot of people here. It's good so far. Yeah.
Do you find it amazing? Are you overwhelmed?
Not yet. Not yet. Just day one, though.
So, you are the designer for Mystic Vale. It's a game that we kind of had under the radar. And I think it's a game for 2 to 4 players, right?
That is correct. Yeah.
And how long does a typical game last?
So, experienced players can probably crank through this game in 40 minutes, 30 minutes to 40 minutes. If you're all new or if you're really taking your time, it'll play about an hour.
What are the ages for the game?
So, the game is going to play, so an 8-year-old can probably play this game, right? The sweet spot is gamers who, like gateway-type gamers, who want that quick game, not too complex, easy to learn, easy to play.
But maybe hard to master?
Sure. And as we add expansions, there's going to be more and more strategic nuance to the game.
Okay, so there will be expansions.
That is correct, yeah.
Fine. What is the object of the game? What do we try to do?
So imagine like a Yosemite Valley type place, right? It's this beautiful verdant valley. However, it was cursed by an evil king who destroyed the valley with this evil curse, right? And we are powerful druids in the Druid Council who are tasked with bringing life back to the valley, right? And we each get a deck of cards which represents the portion of that valley that we are tasked with revitalizing, okay? And the objective is to impress Gaia, Mother Earth, with by bringing our portion of the valley the most back to life.
So how do we impress Gaia? Is it by gaining victory points because obviously she likes them, or is there an objective of some sort?
So the beauty and power and majesty that you bring back to your portion of the Vale is represented by victory points, and there's a number of ways to get them. There's end-game points as well as in-game points that will determine a game clock. The game ends when a certain set of victory points are taken.
Okay, so what do we do in a turn in Mystic Vale? How do we play?
Sure, so can we see the deck over here? Do I need to move it closer? We're good? Okay, so I'll let me face it towards the camera also. So everyone has a deck of cards, and stepping back a sec, this is a card crafting game, right? Which our definition of card crafting means you modify cards such that they can be shuffled, discarded, drawn, etc., and they retain that modification, right? So it's not just simply overlaying transparent things, it's actually modifying a card while it retains all those properties of being a card. So all your cards in your deck, you have 20-card deck, and all the cards in the deck are in sleeves, and AEG provided nice, really quality premium sleeves for the game, which is nice. So all your cards start in sleeves. Over the course of the game, you're going to be building out what's called fields, which is essentially your hand, but it's sort of a blackjack-type mechanic. So you play cards from the top of your deck, one at a time, like so. You flip a card and it becomes what's called your on-deck card, and then you play it. And these are actually, we flip it. I'm doing this upside down, so here we go. There we go. You flip it and you play it into what's called your field, and you keep doing that until you get 3 of these what are called Decay Symbols, okay? So this represents the curse that is destroying the Vale, and the power of your deck is limited because it's been cursed, right? So you play until this point, and that is actually what you do at the end of your turn. At the start of your turn, you can choose to either push, which means you're going to play the top card of your deck and reveal a new card. If the new card is showing a decay, you spoil your field, okay? Which means you lose your turn. You're going to have one of these tokens, and as a consolation prize, you get to flip it over. This represents a mana that you could spend on any future turn by flipping it back down. So it's a consolation prize, but you give up your chance to buy advancements. All right, so let's say that in this example, I choose to not push. what I end up with is all the cards in my field, which have 3 mana. This is your currency in the game. In this case, I have 3 mana, and I can go buy advancements in the field. That's what we call these transparent cards advancements. So this card, for example, costs 3 mana. I have 3. I could buy this card. I would slot it into any of the cards in my field, as long as I'm not covering an existing effect. So I can put it on this card, and now this card has been modified for the rest of the game. Right? At the end of my turn, I then discard, like a familiar deck builder, and you will then lay out your next hand. I got a weak next hand. And that would be your turn. And everybody goes like this, around, on your turns.
So, do you have a push your luck element, or can you stop before?
Right, so my turn comes around to me, and I can push my luck. The top of your turn is choosing to push or not. So right now, I could simply be happy and just take this 2 mana. Or I could push, because I want that 3rd mana. And I don't want to start my next turn with this card on top of my deck. So I can push. I'm risking busting. In this case, I got away with it. Now I can choose to push again if I want this extra mana. Or I could stop and go with the 3. So you keep pushing until either you bust or you pass.
Okay, fine. How do we earn victory points? Is it when playing cards with victory points symbol on them?
Sure, there's 3 main sources of victory points in the game. So one of the main ways is off of cards that give you points every time you play them. So this card, for example, were it on a card in my field, note this card will also give me another decay. So it's a good card because of the victory points, but it's a risky card to play. So let's say...
Wait a sec, I'm going to show it to the camera. There it is. So the decay, the victory points.
Yep. So in this case, I could play this card. If I stop now, I've got 3 decay, so I'm safe. And I would get 3 of these victory point tokens. And I would get those. I've scored them. When the victory point pile runs out, the game is over. So this is bleeding the game clock as well as getting me points. That's one source of victory points. Another big source of victory points can come from these Vale cards over here, which will have some of them will have what are these endgame victory points on them. And some of them are particularly big scoring points, right? And these you're purchasing through a different currency. You don't actually, you're purchasing them to what we call spirits of the Vale, right? Which will come from these advanced cards. So if I had, I don't know if there's a good combination out here, but if I had a animal spirit and a sky spirit in my field, I would be able to buy this card, right? And you're going to want to combo those cards so you can purchase these. And some are worth victory points, some give you ongoing effects. The third source of victory points are going to be in-game points on the advancements that you buy, which is this gray symbol in the bottom left. It has no in-game effect, but you want to pay attention to it because as you're buying these, some are worth more points than others.
Oh, this one is really expensive. 8 mana.
This is a very good card, yeah.
So the game ends when the victory points are spent here. And is there any other end-game condition?
No, it's just the victory points. And it's the game. It feels like the points are bleeding slowly. The game is very much about beating the other players to having 1 massive or 2 massive turns at the end of the game. So a lot of times the points will bleed out slowly, and then someone will be able to pop their deck and have a huge turn and score a bunch of points. And in a lot of ways, the game is a race to see who can accomplish that epic turn or 2 or 3 epic turns to end the game first. Yeah.
So how did you come up with the idea of card crafting? Did you have the setting of the game before wanting to do the card crafting thing, or did it come later?
Yeah, so I was trying to the catalyst idea for the game. I was trying to think of something that had never been done before, and I was going through my head of all the different game components that have been used, cards, dice, right? How have things been used or not used in different ways before, right? And it occurred to me that card sleeves have never been used in a game as a meaningful component to the game, right? We've got transparent cards have been, right? You've got games like Gloom where you overlay cards, right? That's been done before, but no one's really done a game where you can't play the game without card sleeves. So I thought, okay, so if card sleeves were a meaningful or essential part to a component to a game, what would that look like, right? The first few prototypes I worked through didn't actually even use transparent cards. They used card sleeves in a different type of way, but they were essential to the game. And then eventually it occurred to me, wait, so you can put multiple things in a sleeve, right? And then, of course, well, if cards have partial transparencies now, you can really create really interesting card creations right? And it sort of went from there. The original game, actually, that I pitched to AEG is called Edge of Darkness. And they picked that game up. That game's supposed to come out next year. It's a bigger, more involved game. I then went, after selling that to them, I went back to the drawing board, started thinking about more ways that you could use a similar card crafting game concept. And I wanted to create a more gateway, entry-level type of game. And out of that came Mystic Vale.
And so this is your first game, right?
This is actually the fourth game I've sold and the second game that's been released. So, like I said with Edge of Darkness, I actually sold that before this, but it hasn't come out yet. I have another game coming out from Tasty Minstrel Games next year called Downfall, which was also sold to them but hasn't come out yet.
Can you talk about the games that you sold?
Sure. So we'll go chronologically. I sold Downfall. That was actually the second game I sold. That is an epic post-apocalypse civilization game that gives you that epic 4X feel. But because of the drafting mechanic in the game that drives your actions, it plays 6 players in 2 hours while giving you that epic feel, which was my goal for that design. Edge of Darkness, I would classify as a medium weight Euro game. Not entry. It's a little tough for an entry level player. It's got elements of worker placement. The core is card crafting. There's a few cool things of card crafting that it's going to do differently than this game, and it's going to look and feel different than this game. There's card crafting at its core, but otherwise it's a different experience.
Okay, and why did you want to be a designer? Did you have an idea that you wanted to make, or was it because you weren't satisfied of the games that were out? Or tell me.
So, games, even as a little kid, were like always in my mind. When Pokemon was like the big phenomenon back in the 90s, I was like 8 years old, right? When it became this huge card game. And I have my mom to thank. She wouldn't let me buy Pokemon cards. She didn't want me to. She said, make your own game. So I did. I made my own collectible card game, which was called Monster Cards, right? And it was this really simple dice chucking monster battle game. And from there, I just kept making games. After I came out of college, I decided to try to actually take it a little more seriously and not just do it as a hobby, but see if I could get games published. And it's been a fun run from there.
So I think we have everything that you could tell on Mystic Vale. So thank you for your time, and see you on Uvox. Bye.
INDIANA, that's Indiana. Ballin' like Reggie Miller, that's Indiana.